Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Donald Trump has filed a $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and its owners, and also Rupert Murdoch, over a report linking him to Jeffrey Epstein. Wall Street Journal owner Dow Jones says it stands by its reporting and will vigorously defend against the defamation claim. After deadly clashes that killed over 300 in Druze majority areas, Israel and Syria have reached a ceasefire, the US envoy to Turkey confirmed on Friday. Israel had earlier struck Damascus and demanded a withdrawal to protect the region's Druze minority. Hamas's armed wing says it may revert to demanding a full peace deal if current ceasefire talks collapse. Spokesman Abu Ubaidah claims Israel has rejected Hamas's offer to release hostages in exchange for a permanent ceasefire. Russian drones hit Ukraine's Black Sea port of Odessa, killing one and setting a residential building on fire. Meanwhile, Moscow says its air defenses intercepted 13 drones in a separate overnight attack. El Salvador has sent home 250 Venezuelans jailed after US deportation in exchange for 10 Americans held by Caracas. President Maduro praised the deal and thanked President Donald Trump for negotiating it. Congo and M23 rebels have agreed to a declaration to end fighting, with the deal due to be signed in Doha on Saturday. The US-backed talks could pave the way for billions in mineral investment in eastern Congo. Brazil's Jair Bolsonaro, now under arrest and wearing an ankle monitor, says only he can defeat Lula in 2026. He told the Reuters news agency he wants his passport back to visit President Donald Trump and renegotiate US tariffs. Torrential rains in South Korea have killed 4 and forced nearly 3,000 to flee, with 2 still missing. Officials warn of more flooding and landslides as rains continue through to Monday. We start in the United States, where the Department of Justice has formally asked a federal judge to unseal grand jury transcripts related to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The move comes amid renewed public scrutiny and political pressure, particularly directed at former President Donald Trump and his handling of the Epstein case. During the 2024 campaign, Trump hinted that he might declassify Epstein-related files. Then, in February, Attorney General Pam Bondi, appointed under Trump, told US media that Epstein's client list was sitting on her desk, right to review. However, a Justice Department memo released on July the 7th stated that Epstein died by suicide and that there was no incriminating client list or evidence he blackmailed prominent individuals. The memo reportedly angered segments of Trump's base, who felt betrayed by what they saw as a reversal of prior promises. As per reports, even many accused the government of concealing records to protect powerful allies. Trying to manage the backlash, Trump defended Bondi in a Truth Social post, dismissing critics within his own base as weaklings and accusing them of falling for a, quote, hoax that benefits Democrats. Meanwhile, backlash from both Democrats and Republicans is mounting. In a rare bipartisan move, lawmakers including Marjorie Taylor Greene and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez have backed a discharge petition that will compel the Justice Department to release more of the Epstein files to the public. We're now joined by Jim Rice, who's a professor of international law. He joins us live from Vigan in the Philippines. Jim, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Jim, this scandal is causing mass backlash, bipartisan backlash, may I add. However, Donald Trump has faced many controversies in his time, both in office and out. He's a famous escapologist when it comes to these controversies, when you can cite the likes of Stormy Daniels. Even January the 6th, he seems to have put behind him. He famously said that I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any votes. Has Donald Trump's luck run out here when it's come to this case?
Those are great points, Thomas. I agree with everything you've said. Again, I don't know, but it seems to me that when somebody, even an escape artist like Trump, starts to turn on his own core supporters, there's got to be problems there. The thing with the latest information that you highlighted in your introduction is that this idea of trying to unseal the grand jury testimony, and this will be easier said than done and could take months and months, although it's not clear how long it will take to complete this procedure. But the main thing that I get out of this is that essentially Trump is an enemy of the rule of law. He is now using the Office of Attorney General in the person of Pam Bondi as his own defense lawyer. And this is not the way things are supposed to be. The Attorney General is the highest law enforcement officer in the country, and Trump is using this person, as I say, his own personal defense lawyer.
Jim, obviously this rather damning report came out by the Wall Street Journal today. Donald Trump saying he's going to go after all those involved, including Rupert Murdoch, the owner of the Wall Street Journal itself. Dow Jones, another head of the outlet, has said he's going to fight this case. Legal standards in the United States, what are they here to prove actual malice in a defamation suit against a public figure here?
That's a great question. They're very high. If you're a public personality such as Donald Trump, the standard for proof of actual malice is very high. And apart from that excellent point that you make, in any civil litigation, you're going to have a process of discovery. That means that both sides get to look at the information, all of the information, the background information. And my own view is, and I suspect that many of your viewers will agree, Trump cannot stand the scrutiny in this particular matter, because this is not just a mere conspiracy theory. We know that Trump has been intimately involved with the activities of Jeffrey Epstein for years and years. And we know that they've been engaged in similar kind of activities in terms of women. We know that he's been at Epstein's, Trump has been at Epstein's Little St. James private island. And there are a lot of things we don't know, but I suspect that Trump cannot stand the scrutiny of an intensive discovery.
Just to be clear, Jim, I'm not sure we have that information yet, that Donald Trump has been confirmed to have presence on the island. We're certainly images of them together, along with links. So we're running those visuals now.
Okay.
However, we have run out of time. We will move on to our next story. Jim, do stay with us as we discuss updates from Europe, where Russian forces staged a mass drone attack on the Ukrainian Black Sea port of Odessa, setting ablaze at least one multi-story apartment building and killing one resident, as per the city mayor. Mayor Hennedy earlier said that at least 20 drones had converged on the city, a frequent target of Russian attacks. The Odessa region's emergency service later said that 5 people were rescued from burning apartments, but one rescued woman sadly died. Meanwhile, Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said that Russian air defences intercepted drones heading for Moscow in a series of attacks. As per reports, Sobyanin has made no mention of casualties or damage in his accounts of air defence activity, but said 13 drones had been downed or destroyed after midnight. He said specialists were examining fragments where they had landed. Amid the escalating war between Russia and Ukraine and Trump's 50-day ultimatum to Putin, the US has reportedly reordered arms deliveries to free up more Patriots for Ukraine. We're once again joined by Jim Rice, who's a professor of international law, to once again discuss this in further detail. Jim, we just said that Odessa is a repeated point of attack by Russian strikes. What do these ongoing strikes, perhaps it's better to look at the escalating situation about the war in general, reveal about Russia's evolving nature of this aerial warfare mainly and its impact on Ukraine?
Well, again, Russia's criminal modus operandi in this war that is a war of aggression and is a war that was initiated and perpetrated by Putin and Russia. It has been focused on targeting civilian targets such as schools, hospitals, mostly apartment blocks, and as in terms of international law, all of these are crimes against humanity.
Yes, and how credible are Moscow's recent claims of these territorial gains that the Kremlin has been releasing statements a lot about recently? And what independent indicators should analysts use to verify them?
Well, again, Russia is not known for telling the truth, and I would basically take all of their claims with a good dose of salt. It seems to me that independent verification must be done. But to your other point, I think it's extremely important that the defensive weapons, such as the Patriot missile batteries, be rushed to Ukraine as soon as possible, so that they can defend themselves from these criminal attacks.
Jim Rice, thank you very much for joining us. But we do have some breaking news coming in. South Korea's jailed ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol has been indicted on additional charges today as a special prosecutor continues investigating him for his short-lived declaration of martial law in December. The new charges include obstruction of the exercise of others' rights by abuse of authority, ordering the deletion of records and also blocking the execution of arrest warrants, as per the prosecutor's office. Yoon has been on trial on charges of insurrection, which is punishable by death or life imprisonment, facing additional charges since the special prosecutor was appointed in June to take over cases against him. We will bring you all updates that we get on that ongoing and developing story. We now move on. The United States and Japan have pledged to reinforce their alliance, calling it a critical moment in history, amid growing security concerns over China, North Korea and the war in Ukraine. Both nations are deepening their security cooperation, with Japan boosting military spending and acquiring long-range strike capabilities. The partnership is expanding beyond defence to include cybersecurity, climate resilience and global health. Let's listen in to what US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had to say. US and Japan are also increasing multilateral engagement, including trilateral efforts like the US, Japan, Philippines partnership and the Quad. The commitment underscores both nations' shared focus on adapting to current and future security needs in Asia. We're now joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao, who's a fellow at the Hudson Institute. He joins us live from Tokyo in Japan. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Nagao. How does this interplay between Trump's reciprocal tariff initiative and alliance commitments affect US credibility among Pacific partners like we just mentioned?
Strategically, the situation has not changed. China is escalating the activity in the Pacific side and other side also, but the Pacific side mainly, especially against Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, and this area especially. So recently, China's aircraft carrier activity has happened in the Pacific side of Japan, and this means that Pacific side of Taiwan also. In one day, more than 50 fighter jets or other military planes, Chinese military planes, has tried to enter Taiwan's identification zone around Taiwan. So this has happened very repeatedly. So they are very active. Against the Philippines, they also have done the similar thing, and at the same time, they impose the sanction of the senator of the Philippines, etc., etc. These things has happened recently. So, of course, that is a very important and strategic move. So, Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, these countries rely on the U.S. reinforcement. At the same time, the United States asked the regional countries to share more security burden, rising their defense budget from the current 2% level to the 5% level in total. Of course, the U.S. spent 3.5% of the GDP for their defense, their military. So that's why this 5% is 3.5% for the defense and 1.5% for the defense-related matter like the infrastructure, etc., etc. So in total, 5% they are demanding the regional countries. So that's why they need to create, especially Japan need to create these budgets as a security provider in this region. But the problem is current government's political base is not so strong in the parliament. They are not majority, so that's why they need to cooperate with the opposition party. And July 20th, with the upper house election, indeed the ruling party faced more severe situation in the upper house. So in the lower house and the upper house, both houses, ruling party lose the majority. In this case, even if they need to show the strong measures, but they lack base to decide something. So that is a current problem. So in the U.S. tariff negotiation, this is a similar situation. The big decision demands a strong base, strong background, but in the parliament. But indeed, current government lacks such kind of the strong background. That is the matter.
Dr. Nagao, just quickly, what role does personal diplomacy have in transactional trade disputes like this? How would you analyse the Japanese Prime Minister, Shigeru Ishiba, when it comes to resolving trade disputes like this?
Current Ishiba government tried to establish a personal good relation with President Trump, but at the same time, personally, he is weak because he came from his background. Ishiba's background is agricultural sector. So currently in the tariff negotiation, U.S. demand Japan to import U.S. products, U.S. agriculture products instead of China, because China refused to import agriculture products from the United States, and so instead of China, the U.S. needs a market. And in this case, if Japan import, that is good. But at the same time, because Prime Minister Ishiba's background is agriculture, he do not want to import agriculture products from the United States to protect the Japanese farmers. So that's why, personally, this is a weak point in the negotiation that currently. So in the near future, maybe Japanese government will change the stance, but this will be the tough decision for the Prime Minister Ishiba personally, I think.
Yes, indeed. Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you very much for joining us on the programme. Pleasure to get your insight, always. We now move over to the United States once again, where President Donald Trump has made big claims on India's Operation Sindoor and India-Pakistan ceasefire. He has claimed that 5 jets were shot down. However, at the private dinner with Republican lawmakers where he made this statement, he did not specify which country's aircraft were downed. The claim, while lacking in detail, brought back focus on Operation Sindoor, India's retaliatory military operation launched in early May following the deadly terror attack on April the 22nd in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. The attack killed 26 people, including tourists, prompting air and missile strikes that escalated over a 4-day period. Time and again, President Trump has reiterated that the ceasefire announced on May the 10th was the result of US diplomatic intervention, although India has consistently pushed back on that narrative. We are joined by our guest today, retired Major General Shashi Astana, who's a former Additional Director General of Infantry. He joins us live from New Delhi. Major General, thank you very much for joining us on the program. How have you analysed President Trump's rhetoric when it comes down back to Operation Sindoor and India-Pakistan's conflict? Some Indians have thought it has been damaging, especially in regards to the fact that he says that the US brokered this ceasefire between the South Asian nations. What is your view on Donald Trump's rhetoric here?
See, as far as President Trump's rhetoric is concerned, it is very clear that he wants to make a point, perhaps, for his claim as an initiator of peace and perhaps his nomination for Global Peace Award or, shall I say, Nobel Prize for Peace or whatever. But the fact is, I mean, let's go by facts, what happened. I think India has denied it enough, and I think the world media has also now taken note of what India has been saying, because India actually had no compulsion for either mediation or for any advice from the United States in this context. Now let's put it this way. India initially started targeting the terror infrastructure, and it told the rest of the world. So obviously, US was also informed as part of the rest of the world. There was nothing special which was told to United States. Thereafter, when Pakistan retaliated, we struck all their airfields and all their military targets. That also was told to the rest of the world. So there was no exception for United States. Thereafter, Pakistani's DGMO, he spoke to our DGMO requesting for ceasefire. Now, in the meantime, if they had communicated with President Trump and President Trump told them something, and that conversation, it is better known to President Trump and Pakistan military or Pakistan hierarchy. That India is not aware what they decided between themselves. As far as India is concerned, that request of Pakistan was deliberated and accepted. And at 3:35, it was told that, okay, we will go for ceasefire, and will be announced at 5 o'clock. Now, this was known to Pakistan. Presumably, Pakistan conveyed it to US, and President took a jump into this narrative to hijack the narrative in a manner that it shows him in good light that his diplomacy has worked, and that is why this confrontation has stopped. And he tweeted, and because of his tweet, a fair amount of confusion did get created, and at the same time, that was, I think, repeatedly clarified, and I'm sure anybody, any world leader with grace should have by now kept quiet. I think he did kept quiet in between, that okay, they are not acknowledging, but then the question is, subsequently he again spoke that he was the one who conducted this diplomatic exercise. So this is one part of it. As far as downing of aircraft is concerned, he has not said who has downed or whose aircraft has been downed. So I will leave it at that and give him the benefit of doubt, because as far as India is concerned, we have given whatever we did with all the evidences to rest of the world, and all those imageries are available to the entire world. So I don't think India has to tell anything to anybody. Now, there are certain confidentialities involved. Now, whether it was an aircraft or we had flown some, shall I say, decoys, and Pakistan was too happy to sell it to their public, that they have been able to instruct some decoys, that is their problem. But we have conveyed what we wanted to convey.
Major General Astana, thank you very much for joining us on the programme and for your insight on that story. We now move back over to the Indo-Pacific for our next one. Microsoft has halted the use of China-based engineers for US military cloud services following concerns raised by a ProPublica report The report revealed that Chinese engineers worked on Pentagon systems under US digital escorts, lacking technical expertise. In response, Microsoft pledged to change its practices to ensure no China-based teams assist the Pentagon. US Senator Tom Cotton and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has called for reviews of military contracts and cybersecurity risks. Let's listen in to what Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had to say.
Earlier this week, we were alerted to a potential vulnerability in our DoD computer systems, and we've been checking into it ever since. It turns out that some tech companies have been using cheap Chinese labor to assist with DoD cloud services. This is obviously unacceptable, especially in today's digital threat environment. Now, this was a legacy system created over a decade ago during the Obama administration. But we have to ensure the digital systems that we use here at the Defense Department are ironclad and impenetrable. And that's why today I'm announcing that China will no longer have any involvement whatsoever in our cloud services effective immediately. And at my direction, the department will also initiate as fast as we can a 2-week review or faster to make sure that what we uncovered isn't happening anywhere else across the DoD. We will continue to monitor and counter all threats to our military infrastructure and online networks. And I want to thank all those Americans out there in the media and elsewhere who raised this issue to our attention so we could address it. And that's why we're talking to you today. As the President would say, thank you for your attention to this matter, and God bless our warfighters. I'm going to sign that memo right now, initiating that review.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth there. He is talking about a ProPublica report which was released on the 15th of July detailing how Microsoft leveraged engineers in China, provided technical support for highly sensitive Defense Department cloud infrastructure overseen by US digital escorts who often lacked the expertise to detect sophisticated cybersecurity threats. Senator Tom Cotton followed up by requesting comprehensive data from Hegseth on which contractors use Chinese personnel and how US escorts are trained to monitor them. We just heard Pete Hegseth's statement there on the matter. But however, we are now joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao once again to discuss this story further. Dr. Nagao, how effective are these Microsoft so-called digital escorts at detecting these sophisticated threats introduced by these foreign engineers, given the reports of their limited technical expertise?
If the Chinese engineer located in China and worked in the online and support basic software, in this case, U.S. worry is the Chinese government can access these engineer personally because of the law can allow them to do that. And check the inside of the basic software. So through the online, they can intervene to any computer in the world related to Microsoft. Of course, it is not easy, but at the same time, the possibility is a concerning point, and there's a possibility in some cases it could happen. That's true. So that's why as a simple measure to stop this, just suppose these Chinese engineers located in China to access this. So that is understandable. But but this is strong measures because even if U.S. only target is Chinese engineer, but at the same time, still there are many working forces joining.
Yes.
Because for a long time the world market is global free trade, worker also the global pay, so there are many Chinese engineers working for the Microsoft.
Yes.
So this is bold measures.
Yes, Dr. Satoru Nagao, thank you very much for your insight once again on that story. We now move over to South Asia, where as speculation grows over the cause of the fatal Air India crash that claimed 260 lives. The head of the US National Transportation Safety Board has urged caution, saying that recent media reports are premature and lack proper investigative context. This comes after the preliminary report by the Aircraft Accident Information Bureau, which noted that the fuel was cut off mid-flight, prompting one pilot to question the other, who denied having done it. Following this, several media reports suggested that the crash may have resulted from pilot error or confusion in the cockpit. In a statement posted on July the 18th, the top US official chair, Jennifer Hominy, criticised early assumptions and reporting on the incident, which claimed that the aircraft's captain may have manipulated fuel flow switches before the crash. She said that investigations of such magnitude take time and stressed that it is not the time to create public anxiety or angst towards the safety of Indian aviation industry on the basis of unfounded facts. The officer also urged both public and media to refrain from spreading premature narratives that risk undermining the integrity of the investigative process. Prior to this, AAIB on the July 17th had criticised the Wall Street Journal for what it called unverified and selective reporting regarding a pilot's alleged role in the Air India Flight 171 crash that killed 260 people. The Wall Street Journal, citing an assessment by US officials, reported that black box recordings suggest that the captain had turned off the fuel control switches just seconds after Air India's flight crashed into a resident doctor's hostel in Ahmedabad shortly after takeoff. We're now joined by Vandana Singh, who's an aviation expert. She joins us live from the Indian capital of New Delhi. Vandana, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Once again, we've had some reassurance that this is still an ongoing investigation here. The preliminary report is out and people can make their judgments from that. But what do you make of these media outlets making these allegations, specifically the Wall Street Journal, and the language they use before a final report has been conducted by the Indian authorities?
Thank you for having me on your show. It's an honor.
Pleasure.
And this discussion, thank you, has been going on for quite some time. Before we are getting into the whys and the hows, and the AAIB is sitting in a closed door investigation, the Bureau is sitting and examining everything. We know that such kind of accident reports can go into months and sometimes even a year or so or more. Now, having said that, this crash happened on 12th of June, and already 12th of July, the first preliminary report was out. Post that, there has been so much of speculation going on, so much of fake news, that I may say so, that is happening. And yesterday, of course, 8:36 in the morning, what Wall Street Journal came out with was indeed shocking, rather day before. And how can they get to such conclusions before even knowing the facts? How can they even start having a certain narrative which can be very painful for everybody, not just the pilots or the pilots' unions or the 270 people who have perished and their immediate families, but also to the entire global fraternity as well as the entire nation. This is not just unfair or impractical or unjust for a respectful journal like WSJ to come out with something like this. I think it's highly unethical. And these were my words right in the beginning. And now with the NTSB coming up and saying that, yes, please do not speculate. It's very premature for anybody, including the WSJ, to come out with such reports is definitely good, because at least they will put a full stop to all this fake speculations and permutation combinations and theories that are rotating. And I think none of the stakeholders can be, scot-free. Everybody is held accountable until the actual cause of this crash comes out in proper light, and let the AAIB, which is the leading body, please continue with its investigations. Over to you, sir.
Vandana Singh, thank you so much for your insight on that issue. and a pleasure having you on the programme. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world. Thank you.